the EVO lineup for 2022 has been announced. Now, coming later this month, it's in August. Yeah, beginning of August. I was about to say late July, but August 5th through the 7th. EVO is going to be where it always is in Las Vegas, and the games were announced that's going to be held there. We have Street Fighter V Championship Edition, of course. So it's going to be unique to see how that works out with the new licensing agreements we have, or maybe they don't even apply to EVO, and I don't know what I'm talking about. Guilty Gear Strive, Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate, Tekken 7, King of Fighters 15, Multi Blood Type Lumina. So I hope those stalls are ready. Dragon Ball Fighters, Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, and Skullgirls. So this is a pretty dope lineup. Now we know that Smash Brothers wasn't going to be here because Nintendo yet again sniped the cease and desist into their inbox. So that won't be happening. But this lineup is pretty cool. I guess I'll save my opinions for when it's my turn to talk. But we'll go ahead and hand it over to Mr. Gaming Lift. Do you like this lineup? Do you think they should have added another game and missed out on something? Give us your thoughts, man, and make them right.
Well, Mar was going to do that. Honestly, like this lineup, I will say first and foremost, I saw a post somebody was happy with Grand Blue. And it's pretty dope that Grand Blue's finally getting his time to shine because we all know that Grand Blue came out at a time and it just didn't get any shine in terms of like an actual offline tournament scene because of the pandemic. So it's kind of cool to see that game actually come back and it'll see its time at EVO. Now, will it be back next year? That's up for debate because I'm pretty sure probably DNF Duel will probably take its place by that time. Speaking of DNF Duel, I'm actually kind of curious if that's not on the list because I'm thinking that game will be out by the time EVO is here, and maybe not, but I would assume it will be. Excuse me, that would have been cool to see DNF Duel on that list. I definitely would have loved to see it on the list. Let's see what else on here that I was. KOL 15, of course. It's a new game. It's going to get its time to shine. I actually saw Justin Wong made a post and he said, "Man, the only game it looks like I'm playing this year at EVO is KOL 15." I was like, man, because most players, especially like Justin Wong, Sonic Fox, those type of players, they play multiple games. And for Justin Wong to say he's only playing one game, that's kind of out of character. Because looking at these games, I thought he still play Street Fighter, but maybe not. Skullgirls is there, so it'll get its time to shine. Of course, Multi Blood is a newer game, so it's going to be there. MK Ultimate is coming back. Hopefully, they might by that time they will announce something from NRS. Dragon Ball, I really haven't been keeping up with Dragon Ball, man. It's just a lot of hoopla going on in that game, and I just haven't been following it like that. So, out of these games on the list, I'm definitely the most excited to see KOL 15 and to see Grand Blue get on there, and also Skullgirls, because even though Skullgirls is a really, excuse me, a really chaotic game, it's fun to watch. It's a lot going on, and it's like the closest thing to Marvel besides Dragon Ball in here. So it'll be cool to see that, especially with like some of the newer characters that have dropped recently. People were talking about Marvel 3 getting back on the list, and it's not on here. I don't know if it'll be a side game, but I definitely would have been super hyped to see Marvel 3 make it on the list, especially with the mods. I don't know if they would do like a mod tournament, but that would have been dope. Excuse me. So I would just say this list is pretty much the standard of what I would expect from the games that people are playing now that would be on the list for EVO. So, hopefully people are excited. I know people are excited for Skullgirls. People are just losing their minds for that. And people are excited for Grand Blue because, again, like I said before, that game got just bodied by the pandemic. So the fact that it's actually at EVO now and it gets some limelight on the big stage is kind of cool to see. So, hopefully it's a good EVO.
Okay, real quick, can you go Rexon, can you go over the game list again, please?
Yeah. We got actually also you was talking about MVC3, Devin. Rick Hidell actually put up something saying they hadn't forgot about that game, so they might do something with it. You got Street Fighter 5 Championship Edition, Guilty Gear Strive, Mortal Kombat 11, Tekken 7, King of Fighters 15, Bathroom Stall Fighter. Melty Blood, Dragon Ball Fighters, Grand Blue Fantasy, and it's Skullgirls.
What was the second game again?
Guilty Gear Strive.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like, it seems like the lineup for games is pretty decent so far. My issue is, I guess the game that there might be some people who may or may not agree with me out there, and whether or not like that's the case, whatever. But I still think that Soul Calibur 6 has some life left in it. I think that's a game that like was kind of robbed. Actually, it's kind of almost in the same vein as Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, because before the pandemic, Soul Calibur 6 was supposed to get like a world tour. Like they were supposed to be doing like the Soul Calibur 6 world tour, and COVID. So it never really got like and it was getting really popular, and it basically all of the momentum that was building up was just stopped. So I would like to see Soul Calibur 6 at EVO. I think that would be really cool. I'm happy to hear that Melty Blood Type Lumina is going to be there, because Melty Blood Type Lumina is a good game, even though it might not get as much attention for whatever reason. I guess it's just like it's one of those niche anime fighters, like this is talking about like, oh, get the stalls ready and stuff, like whatever, man. You got Guilty Gear Strive, of course, is going to be there. There's no question that Guilty Gear Strive is going to be there. Tekken 7 mainstay, Street Fighter 5 mainstay. Having Grand Blue Fantasy Versus there is really cool, because like I just stated, Grand Blue Fantasy Versus didn't really get its time to shine at all. Once again, another game that was like adversely affected by COVID, and so now it's going to get a chance to like be there at EVO, because like where netcode doesn't matter. So that's a good chance for like people, like not only for like people to get out there and strut their stuff, I guess, on the stage, but also for like people who've maybe never gotten their hands on it to have a chance to like actually be exposed to it and see if they like it or not. Yeah, Skullgirls. Skullgirls is another game that kind of needs that like exposure, a little bit more. I think like Skullgirls is a game that people talk about, but like Skullgirls, I feel like has had so many bumps in the road, right? Because like, I mean, just so many, but the one that kind of like was really like glaring was like, when EVO, like the last EVO tournament didn't happen. And that was like EVO Online, and Skullgirls was like going to be like basically main stage material. And then it's like, oh, well, that's not happening. Like so many different games that have basically been robbed of their chances. So it seems like these are like kind of like last chance qualifiers for a lot of these games as far as EVO is concerned. And of course, King of Fighters 15 is ridiculously good, so it definitely deserves to be at EVO. So I'm glad, with the exception of them not like having Soul Calibur 6, I'm pretty satisfied with the lineup for EVO. So we'll see what happens when people get up there and we get to start seeing like everybody go at each other in the matches and stuff. So yeah, looks good.
Yeah, I'm pretty much going to agree with what Ian Devin says, that it's pretty like this lineup is good. I really don't have any complaints about it per se. And the games that didn't make it, they'll more than likely be side games, like Evo already said. I mean, the fact that Evo has 50% more space, they're going to have like side tournaments for like all the games that didn't make it. So I'm not really concerned about that. In terms of the individual games and what made it, like everyone said, I'm glad that Grand Blue is there, mostly because I'm glad that we're finally getting international competition with the game. We got to see state like USA competition through like NLBC and Wednesday night fights, mostly just NLBC. But in terms of like the international competition, like Japan has never gotten a chance to like clash with the USA. And I think the last time that happened, that was at Frosty Faustings. I think when someone came over from Japan, I think their name was Ren or something like that. I mean, they ended up winning the tournament. So I don't know. We'll finally get a chance to see how the USA does against Japan, because in Japan, I mean, the game has continued to flourish. They've had tournaments and everything. So it never died over there in the same way that it kind of quote unquote died over here. It's not dead, but I just mean it's become more of like a Discord game in a sense where you have to reach out to certain people to get games and everything. But I will say this is probably the most anime that EVO has been in quite a while. Because I mean, we have Dragon Ball, we have Grand Blue, we have Melty Blood, Strive. You might as well count Skullgirls. I mean, it's not anime, but it's pretty much anime-esque. So it's kind of crazy to see. And also the fact that we have 3 Arc System Works games in this lineup. That's crazy. You know, for the longest time, the only developer that would have like multiple games like that would either be like Bandai Namco or it would be Capcom for the most part. But now that Arcs they pretty much taken over the FGC, and it's great to have someone else kind of stand as the king for the time being. But other than that, you know, I'm glad to see that EVO is offline again. It's great. I'm really looking forward to these matches. I'm looking forward to some hype announcements. Out of all these games, in terms of announcements, I'm sure we'll probably season 2 for Guilty Gear will start at that point, so they'll have announcements for like characters. Who knows if we might get new Tekken news? Maybe Tekken 8 is on the horizon. Who knows? We haven't heard a peep about that. King of Fighters 15. I mean, maybe then we'll learn about the other DLC characters for the rest of this year. Fighters. Who knows? Maybe they have some other characters lined up outside of a Lab Coat 21. Grand Blue, maybe they have some more characters, some maybe like a season 3 or something. Skullgirls, yeah, they still have more with that with their DLC pack. And then Mortal Kombat, like Mr. Gaming Lift said, maybe we'll finally know what they're working on either before EVO or maybe even after EVO. Sometime this year, hopefully we'll learn more about what NRS is working on. But overall, this is a great EVO lineup. I don't really have any complaints. I'm looking forward to it. I'm just hyped to see some offline action. Watching Frosty Faustings this year was great, and I'm looking forward to hopefully the rest of this year being offline.